Did you know a single Depression-era recipe once became so valuable, families passed it down in their wills alongside jewelry and land? When a dozen eggs cost half a day's wages, American kitchens didn't just survive, they revolutionized cooking forever. Today, with grocery prices soaring 12% higher than ever, these forgotten recipes are making a surprising comeback. Modern families using these techniques report saving $4,800 annually, more than their monthly mortgage payments. In the next 10 minutes, you'll discover 20 genius recipes that changed American history. From a cake that needs no eggs or butter, now trending on TikTok, to a soup so nutritious it helped families survive medical shortages. These aren't just recipes, they're financial game changers that could slash your grocery bill in half. Let's uncover how Depression-era wisdom is solving 2024's biggest kitchen challenge: stone soup. A recipe that transformed from a folktale into a real survival strategy during America's toughest times. During the Great Depression, when families watched their savings vanish overnight, they discovered that a pot of water could become a feast. It wasn't about the stone at all. It was about the art of turning nothing into something extraordinary. Starting with just water and vegetable scraps, families would create rich, flavorful broths that could feed entire neighborhoods for mere pennies. The magic happened as each ingredient slowly released its essence. Onion peels for depth, potato scraps for thickness, and if lucky, a meat bone for richness. Today, when the average family wastes $1,500 yearly on discarded food, this humble soup teaches us a powerful lesson. A modern pot costs about $3.50 and feeds 8 people. That's less than 50 cents per serving. Compare that to its Depression-era cost of just 15 cents for an entire pot, and you'll understand why this recipe has stood the test of time. The secret lies in patience, letting each ingredient contribute its flavor, transforming scraps into liquid gold. Modern home cooks using this method report saving up to $125 monthly just by giving their kitchen scraps a second life. While stone soup mastered the art of liquid transformation, our next recipe shows how Depression-era families turned plain cornmeal into a bread so remarkable it's still featured in upscale Southern restaurants today. Hot water cornbread emerged as a testament to Southern ingenuity. When families had nothing but cornmeal in their pantries, this crispy outside, tender inside bread required just 3 ingredients: cornmeal, boiling water, and a pinch of salt. What made it remarkable wasn't just its simplicity, it was how it filled empty stomachs for less than 2 cents per serving. Modern versions still cost only 25 cents each, a fraction of store-bought bread's $4.99 price tag. The technique was brilliantly simple. Boiling water poured over cornmeal created an instant dough that, when fried in small patties, transformed into golden discs with a satisfying crunch. Families would serve it alongside beans or crumble it into milk for breakfast. Today, with basic cornmeal costing $2.99 for enough to make 20 servings, this recipe could save modern households up to $80 monthly on bread expenses. The real magic: it takes just 10 minutes from start to finish, faster than a trip to the store. Speaking of quick transformations, imagine turning a single egg into a satisfying meal for 4. That's exactly what our next recipe accomplished, and it's still saving families money across Asia today. Egg drop soup. When eggs were a luxury and meat was scarce, Chinese immigrants shared a secret that spread through Depression-era America like wildfire. Egg drop soup, the recipe that could stretch a single egg to feed a family of 4. The beauty lay in its deceiving simplicity. A pot of seasoned broth transformed by thin streams of beaten egg, creating delicate golden ribbons that made every spoonful feel substantial. During the Depression, this soup cost merely 3 cents per bowl. Today, at just 45 cents per serving, it's still one of the most economical, protein-rich meals. The magic happens as the egg proteins dance with the hot broth, creating a silky texture that feels far more luxurious than its humble ingredients suggest. Modern families report saving upwards of $50 monthly by replacing one meat-based dinner weekly with this satisfying soup. Add any vegetables on hand, and you've got a complete meal that costs less than a cup of coffee. While eggs could stretch a meal, wait until you see how the most common vegetable of the era became the foundation of a soup so creamy, people still mistake it for a dairy-based delicacy: potato soup. When potatoes were often the only vegetable in the cellar, Depression-era cooks discovered liquid alchemy. This humble soup delivered creamy richness without a drop of cream, just potatoes, water, salt, and the knowledge of perfect timing. By slow cooking the potatoes until they partially broke down, families created a naturally thick soup that felt luxurious despite costing just 5 cents per bowl. Modern ingredients cost around $4 total, yet yield 8 to 10 servings, still a remarkable value at 40 cents per bowl. The genius lies in the potato's natural starch, creating a silky base that rivals today's $8 restaurant soups. Home cooks across America report saving up to $140 monthly by mastering this technique, especially when enhanced with leftover vegetables or cheese rinds for extra flavor. Even better, it reheats perfectly, making it ideal for weekly meal prep. Money was scarce during the Depression, but protein was even scarcer. That's where our next recipe stepped in, transforming a handful of oats into a meat dish that could feed twice as many mouths: oatmeal meatloaf. When a pound of ground beef had to feed twice its normal yield, Depression-era cooks discovered their secret weapon: oatmeal. This wasn't just any meatloaf, it was financial wizardry on a plate. By combining meat with oats, eggs, and basic seasonings, families could stretch a single pound of beef to feed 8 instead of 4. During the Depression, this innovation cut meat costs in half, from 25 cents to just 12 cents per serving. Today, when ground beef averages $5.99 per pound, this recipe still works its magic, cutting per-person costs from $1.50 to 75 cents, while adding fiber and nutrients. The oats don't just extend the meat, they create a perfectly tender texture that holds moisture better than breadcrumbs. Modern budget-conscious families report saving up to $100 monthly using this technique for various ground meat dishes. Even better, the leftovers make incredible sandwiches, stretching your savings even further. But what if you couldn't afford ground beef at all? Our next recipe shows how clever cooks turned every part of the pig into a breakfast delicacy that's still cherished in Pennsylvania Dutch country: scrapple. Before nose-to-tail eating became trendy, Pennsylvania Dutch families mastered it with scrapple. This breakfast staple transformed pork scraps, cornmeal, and spices into a sliceable loaf that fried up crispy outside, tender inside. During the Depression, it cost 3 cents per serving using parts butchers practically gave away. Today's homemade version costs about 60 cents per serving, compared to $4.50 for commercial breakfast meats. The magic happens during slow cooking, where meat scraps break down into a rich broth that cooks with cornmeal until thick. When chilled, sliced, and fried, it develops a golden crust that even skeptics can't resist. Modern families report saving up to $90 monthly by replacing expensive breakfast meats with this traditional dish. While some families had access to pork scraps, others relied on a pantry staple that could simmer all day, getting better with time. In fact, this next recipe became so popular, it's now a backyard barbecue essential: baked beans. Navy beans became Depression-era gold, transforming from pennies into protein-packed meals that could feed families for days. The secret was slow cooking with molasses, a splash of mustard, and if lucky, a scrap of salt pork. During hard times, a pot cost 15 cents and fed 10 people. Today's version costs $3.50 total, but yields 12 servings. That's 29 cents per protein-rich portion. The magic happens during the 6-hour simmer, where beans absorb every flavor note, while their natural starches create a sauce that rivals any modern BBQ joint's $6 side dish. Budget-conscious families now save approximately $75 monthly by making these instead of buying canned versions, while getting triple the protein and fiber. When even a small piece of bacon made its way into the kitchen, clever cooks knew how to make it taste like a feast. Our next recipe shows how a single slice of bacon transformed into a sandwich that's now inspiring gourmet food trucks. Bacon and onion sandwich. When bacon was rare as gold, one slice became a feast through clever cooking. This sandwich elevated cheap onions into sweet, caramelized layers that made a single piece of bacon taste like many. Depression-era cost, 5 cents per sandwich. Today, 75 cents versus $4.50 for a standard BLT. The technique was simple but brilliant. Slow cooking onions until golden, then combining with crispy bacon bits between toasted bread. The onion's natural sugars created a rich flavor that stretched precious bacon further. Modern families report saving $60 monthly using this method to extend expensive ingredients. During tough times, even potato peels became treasured ingredients. Our next recipe turned what most people threw away into a snack that's now served in high-end gastropubs for $12, a plate, fried potato skins. In an era when every scrap meant survival, potato peels transformed from trash to treasure in Depression kitchens. These weren't just economical, they revolutionized how families thought about food waste. Clean potato peels, typically destined for compost, became crispy, seasoned delicacies through a simple yet brilliant technique. During the Depression, families discovered that frying these peels in a bit of saved bacon fat or oil created a snack as satisfying as any modern chip. They'd season them with whatever was available: salt, pepper, sometimes even dried herbs from the garden. The cost? Virtually nothing, since the peels were already paid for with the potato purchase. Today, while restaurants charge upwards of $12 for their loaded potato skins, this humble version still costs mere pennies. Modern families report saving between $40 to $60 monthly by adopting this waste reduction technique across their cooking. Even better, these crispy skins pack more nutrients than the potato itself, rich in fiber and minerals that typically get thrown away. But the true test of Depression-era ingenuity wasn't just using scraps, it was creating entire meals from odds and ends. Our next recipe became known as the everything but the kitchen sink stew, and it saved countless families from hunger. Slumgullion. Depression-era kitchens turned desperation into delicious innovation with slumgullion. This one-pot wonder gained its peculiar name from mining camps, but became a lifeline during hard times. The brilliance. It welcomed any ingredient: meat scraps, wilting vegetables, leftover beans, or even stale bread. During the Depression, one pot cost roughly 20 cents and fed up to 12 people. Today's version averages $5 for a large pot, about 42 cents per serving compared to $4 to $5 for canned stews. The magic lies in its layered cooking method, starting with onions for a flavor base, then adding longer cooking items first, finishing with quick cooking ingredients. Each addition builds flavor, creating a rich, satisfying meal from humble components. Modern families report monthly savings of $85 to $100 by adopting this flexible, waste-reducing approach. Most importantly, it taught a timeless lesson: with creativity, nothing goes to waste. While slumgullion transformed savory leftovers, Depression-era bakers discovered something even more remarkable: how to make a rich chocolate cake without eggs, milk, or butter. This next recipe is currently going viral on social media: Depression cake. When eggs hit 45 cents per dozen and butter became scarce, resourceful bakers created culinary magic. Depression cake, also called wacky cake or crazy cake, proved that rich, moist chocolate cake was possible without dairy or eggs. The science was ingenious. Vinegar and baking soda created the perfect rise, while oil provided moisture traditionally supplied by butter. During the Depression, this cake cost 15 cents to bake. Today, it costs about $2.50 total, roughly 31 cents per slice compared to $4 to $5 for bakery cake. The genius lies in its simplicity. Mix dry ingredients, add wet ingredients, stir, and bake. No fancy equipment needed. Modern bakers save approximately $70 monthly using this recipe for celebrations. Plus, it's accidentally vegan, making it perfect for today's dietary preferences. But while some created cakes from scratch, others found ways to transform stale bread into a dessert so delicious, high-end restaurants still feature it on their menus. Bread pudding. In 1930s kitchens, stale bread wasn't waste. It was an opportunity for dessert. Bread pudding transformed hardened loaves into a custard-like delicacy that rivaled fancy pastries. The magic formula combined cubed stale bread with a simple custard of milk, eggs, sugar, and vanilla. During the Depression, one pan cost 18 cents to make. Today's version runs about $3 total, 50 cents per serving versus $8 to $10 at restaurants. The science was perfect. Stale bread's dry structure absorbed the custard mixture like a sponge, creating a texture between cake and pudding. Modern households report saving up to $65 monthly by transforming bread destined for the trash into desserts. Some families even grow herbs like mint or lavender to add gourmet touches that would cost dollars extra at bakeries. While bread pudding saved yesterday's loaves, another sweet treat used the cheapest sweetener available to create cookies that packed an unexpected nutritional punch: molasses cookies. When sugar became precious during the Depression, molasses emerged as both savior and secret weapon in American kitchens. These cookies weren't just treats. They were ingenious nutrition delivery systems. A cup of molasses packed more iron than 3 servings of spinach, making these cookies essential for families who couldn't afford fresh produce. The genius lay in their simplicity: flour, molasses, baking soda, and a pinch of warming spices like ginger and cinnamon. During the Depression, one batch cost 10 cents and yielded 24 cookies. Today's version costs $2 per batch, about 8 cents per cookie versus 35 cents for store-bought varieties. The technique was foolproof: mix, roll, bake until just set for a chewy center. Modern families report saving up to $60 monthly by baking these instead of buying commercial cookies. Plus, with molasses providing 20% of daily iron needs per serving, they're still a smarter choice than today's empty-calorie treats. The cookies kept well for weeks, making them perfect for lunchboxes and after-school snacks. Speaking of smart sweets, our next recipe turned 2 of the cheapest pantry staples into a dessert so comforting, it's making a comeback in today's budget-conscious food blogs: rice and raisins. During the Great Depression's darkest days, rice and raisins became an unlikely hero in American kitchens. This simple pairing transformed the cheapest grain and dried fruit into a dessert that rivaled fancy puddings. The genius lay in slow cooking. Rice simmered until creamy, with raisins plumping to juicy sweetness, creating natural sugar syrup. During the Depression, one batch cost 7 cents and fed 6 people. Today's version costs $1.80 total, 30 cents per serving, compared to $4 to $5 for commercial rice pudding. The technique maximized both ingredients. Raisins released their sweetness, while rice's starch created creamy texture without dairy. Modern families save approximately $55 monthly using this method for breakfasts and desserts. Many report their children prefer it to expensive packaged cereals, making it a win for both budget and satisfaction. While some families turned rice into dessert, others transformed everyday ingredients into hearty main dishes. Our next recipe shows how potatoes and onions became a pie so satisfying it's still treasured in farmhouse kitchens. Potato and onion pie. In a time when meat was scarce, the humble potato and onion created a feast fit for a farmhouse table. This savory pie transformed basic root vegetables into a main dish that stuck to the ribs and satisfied hungry workers. The ingenuity lay in its layering technique: paper-thin potato and onion slices, carefully arranged with pinches of salt and pepper, creating distinct flavors in every bite. During the Depression, one pie cost 12 cents and fed 8 people. Today's version costs $3.50 total, about 45 cents per slice compared to $6 to $7 for store-bought meat pies. The secret was patience. Slow baking allowed potatoes to become tender, while onions caramelized, creating a natural gravy. Some families added a splash of milk or bacon drippings between layers when available, but even the basic version satisfied deeply. Modern households report saving up to $80 monthly by serving this as a weekly, meatless main dish. When even eggs became too expensive for regular pancakes, creative cooks discovered a recipe that would transform breakfast forever: eggless pancakes. When eggs became a luxury, at 45 cents per dozen, American kitchens discovered their most ingenious breakfast hack. Eggless pancakes proved that fluffy, golden breakfast cakes weren't dependent on expensive ingredients. The secret lay in the chemistry. Baking powder and a splash of vinegar created the same lift that eggs normally provided. During the Depression, one batch cost 8 cents and fed a family of 6. Today's version costs $1.20 total, about 20 cents per serving compared to $1.50 for boxed mixed pancakes or $12 for restaurant stacks. The technique was brilliantly simple. Mix dry ingredients first, then add liquid ingredients gradually to prevent lumps. The result: pancakes so light and fluffy, nobody missed the eggs. Modern families report saving up to $70 monthly by ditching expensive breakfast mixes and restaurants for this versatile recipe. Creative cooks add mashed bananas, applesauce, or even pumpkin puree for variety. While some families reinvented pancakes, others turned to an even older American tradition. Our next recipe shows how Native American wisdom helped create a breakfast that powered workers through the hardest times. Johnny cakes. Native American wisdom met Depression-era necessity in Johnny cakes, a cornmeal flatbread that predated the crisis but became essential during it. Unlike wheat flour, cornmeal remained affordable and stored well through tough times. The technique was deceptively simple. Hot water poured over cornmeal created an instant dough that fried into golden discs with crispy edges and tender centers. During the Depression, one batch cost 6 cents and fed 8 people. Today's version costs $1.50 total, about 19 cents per serving versus $3 to $4 for commercial pancakes. The brilliance lay in its versatility, served sweet with molasses for breakfast, savory with beans for dinner, or packed cold for lunch. Native Americans taught early settlers that adding a pinch of wood ash, natural lye, made the corn's nutrients more available. Modern cooks achieved the same effect with a touch of baking soda. Families now report saving up to $65 monthly by incorporating this versatile bread into their meal rotation. While cornmeal made a satisfying breakfast, Southern kitchens perfected another morning meal that turned kitchen scraps into pure comfort. Our next recipe shows how leftover fat and flour became a gravy worth fighting over: biscuits and gravy. Southern kitchens perfected the art of turning kitchen scraps into breakfast gold with biscuits and gravy. Basic flour and saved meat drippings became a meal that could fuel a family through hours of hard work. The magic started with simple biscuits, flour, lard or shortening, and buttermilk if available. But the real genius was in the gravy. Meat drippings and flour transformed into creamy, rich sauce that made everything taste better. During the Depression, this meal cost 11 cents to feed 6 people. Today's homemade version costs $2.80 total, about 47 cents per serving compared to $8 to $12 at diners. The technique was passed down through generations, making a roux from drippings and flour, then slowly adding liquid until creamy. Even the smallest amount of meat flavor could season an entire batch of gravy. Modern families report saving up to $90 monthly by mastering this technique for breakfast and dinner. While some stretching meat flavor, others turn to potatoes for sustenance. Our next recipe shows how a humble spud became a crispy sensation that crossed cultural boundaries: potato pancakes. When meat vanished from dinner plates, potato pancakes stepped in as the crispy, golden salvation. Known as latkes in Jewish kitchens and plaki in Polish homes, these shredded potato fritters crossed cultural boundaries to become a Depression-era staple. The technique was pure genius. Grated potatoes released their starch, creating a natural binder that needed only salt and onion for flavor. During the Depression, one batch cost 9 cents and fed 8 people. Today's version costs $2.50 total, about 31 cents per serving versus $6 to $8 at restaurants. The secret lay in the squeeze. Removing excess moisture created pancakes that crisped perfectly. Even better, the recipe worked with sweet potatoes, carrots, or any root vegetable on hand. Modern families save approximately $75 monthly by adopting this versatile technique for quick dinners. Cornmeal mush. Cornmeal mush, the champion of Depression-era ingenuity, proved that one simple ingredient could serve 3 distinct meals. This humble porridge transformed from breakfast to lunch to dinner with just a change in preparation. The brilliance lay in its adaptability: hot and soft for breakfast, chilled and sliced for lunch, fried, crispy for dinner. During the Depression, 5 pounds of cornmeal cost 23 cents and provided meals for 2 weeks. Today, the same amount costs $3.50, about 15 cents per serving compared to $4 to $5 for boxed cereals. The technique was simple but precise. Cornmeal slowly stirred into boiling water until thick, then flavored sweet or savory. Chilled overnight, it became firm enough to slice and fry in saved bacon fat or oil. Modern families report monthly savings of $80 to $100 by incorporating this versatile dish into their meal rotation: dandelion salad. When grocers' shelves emptied and fresh produce became a luxury, Depression-era families discovered a feast growing in their own backyards. Dandelions, those sunny weeds suburbanites now wage war against, became salvation in salad form. This wasn't just about surviving, it was about thriving through nature's generosity. During the Depression, these greens cost nothing but the time to gather them. Today, while bagged salad greens cost $4 to $5, dandelion greens remain free for the foraging, offering substantial savings for resourceful families. The brilliance lay in proper harvesting. Young leaves gathered before flowers bloom taste tender and less bitter. Families learned to identify the distinctive jagged leaves, gathering them in early spring when their nutrition content peaked. The preparation was simple but crucial: thorough washing, followed by a brief soak in salt water to remove any lingering bitterness. Some households added hot bacon dressing for special occasions, but most served them simply with a splash of vinegar and a pinch of salt. What's remarkable is the nutritional powerhouse hiding in these humble greens. 1 cup of dandelion leaves packs more vitamin A than a glass of milk, more vitamin C than tomatoes, and more iron than spinach. Modern nutritionists now praise what Depression-era families knew through necessity: these weeds are superior to many cultivated greens. Speaking of turning humble ingredients into nutritional gold, our next recipe shows how military meals inspired one of the most memorable breakfasts of the Depression: creamed chipped beef on toast, SOS. Military mess halls taught American families a valuable lesson in stretching protein during the Depression. Creamed chipped beef on toast, affectionately or infamously known as SOS by soldiers, made its way from military bases to civilian kitchens as a budget-saving marvel. The genius lay in its ability to transform a few slices of dried beef into a filling meal for an entire family. During the Depression, this dish cost 15 cents to feed 6 people. Today's version costs about $3.50 total, roughly 58 cents per serving compared to $8 to $10 for restaurant breakfast platters. The technique required precision, creating a perfectly smooth white sauce from flour, saved fat, and milk, then adding thin slices of dried beef. The sauce's thickness was crucial. Too thin wouldn't satisfy, too thick wasted precious milk. Families often stretched the dish further by adding diced potatoes or peas, turning a breakfast dish into dinner. Modern households report saving approximately $65 monthly by incorporating this protein-stretching technique into their meal rotation. While some families found creative ways to extend meat, others discovered that common crackers could imitate one of America's favorite desserts. Our next recipe shows how imagination turned simple crackers into a convincing apple pie. Mock apple pie, Ritz cracker pie. When apple orchards seemed as distant as prosperity, American ingenuity created what many consider the Depression's most clever culinary illusion. Mock apple pie proved that the comfort of apple pie was possible without a single apple. Using Ritz crackers, or any similar cracker, home bakers discovered that the perfect combination of cream, of tartar, lemon juice, and cinnamon could replicate the taste and texture of apple pie filling. During the Depression, this pie cost 18 cents to make versus 75 cents for real apple pie. Today it costs $4 total, about 50 cents per slice compared to $7 to $8 for traditional apple pie. The magic lay in the chemical reaction. Crackers softened in a specific sugar syrup mixture, while cream of tartar provided the familiar tartness of apples. When spiced correctly, even experienced bakers had trouble distinguishing it from the real thing. The recipe became so popular that Ritz printed it on their boxes, where it remained for decades. Modern families, fascinated by this historical recipe, report not just savings but a newfound appreciation for Depression-era creativity. Milkless butter. In an era when dairy farms collapsed and butter became an unattainable luxury, American kitchens pioneered what we might now call the first dairy-free spread. This remarkable creation used readily available lard or beef tallow combined with salt and a few drops of yellow food coloring to create a convincing butter substitute. During the Depression, homemade butter substitute cost 7 cents per pound compared to 45 cents for real butter. Today, this recipe costs approximately $2.50 to make a pound, significant savings compared to butter's $6 to $7 per pound price tag. The technique required precise temperature control, warming the fat just enough to incorporate the salt evenly, then chilling it at exactly the right speed to achieve a butter-like consistency. Families discovered that adding a small amount of milk, when available, improved the texture, while a pinch of turmeric could naturally provide the expected yellow color. The spread worked for cooking, baking, and table use, though many noted its best performance was in baked goods, where other flavors dominated. Modern homesteaders and dairy-free households have rediscovered this recipe, reporting monthly savings of $30 to $40 while avoiding modern processed margarine's artificial ingredients. Hoover stew. When President Herbert Hoover's name became attached to this humble macaroni dish, it wasn't meant as a compliment. Yet Hoover stew emerged as one of the most practical and filling innovations of the Depression era. Created for school lunch programs, this combination of macaroni, canned corned beef, and stewed tomatoes proved that institutional cooking could be both economical and nourishing. During the Depression, one pot cost 26 cents and fed 12 hungry students. Today's version costs about $6 total, roughly 50 cents per per serving compared to $3 to $4 for canned pasta meals. The preparation embodied efficiency. Macaroni cooked until tender, then combined with canned corned beef and stewed tomatoes to create a complete protein and carbohydrate meal. School cooks discovered that adding canned corn or beans stretched the dish even further while adding nutritional value. The genius lay in its adaptability. Any canned meat could substitute for corned beef, and various vegetables could join the mix, depending on availability. Modern food banks and community kitchens still use variations of this recipe, noting that one pot can feed a large family for less than the cost of a single fast food meal. Budget-conscious households report saving up to $100 monthly by incorporating this filling one-pot meal into their rotation. These 25 recipes reveal more than just survival tactics. They showcase American ingenuity at its finest. In 2024, with grocery prices up 12% and the average family spending over $1,200 monthly on food, these techniques could save modern households up to $5,000 annually. From transforming kitchen scraps into stone soup to creating cakes without eggs, each recipe demonstrates that creative cooking transcends time. Whether it's foraging dandelions for free salads or stretching a single pound of meat to feed twice as many, these methods offer practical solutions for today's economic challenges. Our great-grandparents didn't just survive tough times, they created a legacy of resourceful cooking that's more valuable than ever. Their wisdom proves that remarkable meals don't require expensive ingredients, just knowledge and creativity. If you've found value in these historical kitchen secrets, join our community of budget-conscious cooks. Subscribe and enable notifications for weekly demonstrations of these money-saving recipes. Share your family's Depression-era recipes in the comments. Together, we're preserving this vital culinary heritage. Remember, great meals start with wisdom, not wealth.